take no pleasure in welcoming our next guests. You know it's all about.
I hope you guys are in the mood for a little bonus content. What's going on? Good Mic Work Commentaries back at you, here to share with you my experience at this past Wednesday's AEW Dynamite live from the Kia Forum in Los Angeles, California. The second time AEW has been at the Forum for Dynamite. The first time was after last year's Double or Nothing in Vegas. Now, I was in Vegas for Double or Nothing. As a matter of fact, the link to my review and experience of that show is in the description below if you want to check it out. But I did not make the trip to LA for that week's Dynamite, where we saw the big MJF Tony Khan shoot promo. So I told myself the next time AEW comes to Southern California, I will be there. And they've been building up this show for several weeks, dating all the way back to December of last year. We knew they were really going to stack the card with a lot of great matches and give it a pay-per-view type of feel like AEW tends to do when they're in bigger markets. And we knew this show was going to be no different. So a couple of weeks ago, I went on that wonderful website that we all love so much, StubHub, and paid those lovely prices for a couple of Dynamite seats. But I'm glad that I did, because it was so great to experience this show live. I cannot tell you how proud I was as a wrestling fan to be able to sit so close to the ring and watch Bryan Danielson take on Konosuke Takeshita. I was so proud to be a fan during that match. Adam Cole coming back, who's one of my favorite people in the business. I had never seen Saraya wrestle before in person in my life. Jeff Jarrett, I saw live and in person for the first time since Unforgiven 1999. This was a very cool show to attend, and I'm so glad I did, and I'm so glad I made the trip, and I'm here to share that experience with you guys. So it's not going to be a long video. This video is not going to get a ton of views or anything like that, so I'm going to make this short and sweet, but I did promise you guys a quick review, blog style of review, and that's what you're going to get here ahead of tonight's WWE SmackDown and AEW Rampage, which also was taped on Wednesday. So there will be no spoilers here, but I will let you know a little bit of what you might see tonight on Rampage. Like I said, this was just a one-day trip up to LA. Luckily, less than a 2-hour drive away, traffic permitting, is really not that bad. So we were able to make it up there pretty quick. Unfortunately, though, West Coast times, everything starts earlier. So we knew that Dynamite was going to be starting at 5 o'clock. Doors open at 3, dark tapings at 4. So we needed to leave the house around noon. So we got up, we left around lunchtime. About halfway there, we stopped for some lunch and then just cruised right on into LA and got to the Kia Forum, which is actually right next to SoFi Stadium. So I was able to see SoFi Stadium and see where I'm going to be in Inglewood in a couple of months for WrestleMania. And then we pulled right into the Kia Forum right as the doors were opening. They parked us right by the exit, which was perfect. And we walked right up, no lines. We waited in line maybe 5 minutes, got right through the metal detectors, got right into the arena, had a beer in hand, and sitting in our seats within minutes. And it was so perfect. Couldn't have asked for a better scenario there. In terms of my seats, holy shit, I loved my seats. About 50 feet or less away from the ring, with a great view of everything, with a great view of the stage, the ring, the crowd, all of it. And it was a really cool experience for me because I've never been to the LA Forum before. I've lived in California now for over 12 years, but I've never been to the Forum, and that building has a ton of history. And I'm a huge 1980s and 1990s NBA fan, and the Lakers, of course, used to play at the LA Forum back in the day. And my home team, Detroit Pistons, actually won an NBA championship in that very building in 1989, sweeping the Lakers and winning the first of 2 back-to-back titles. But because the Elite and Death Triangle were set to have match number 7 tonight, they kept referencing the 1988 finals, also between the Pistons and the Lakers, that went 7 games that the Lakers won right there in the Forum. So the Lakers won in that building in 88 and the Pistons won in that building in 89. That's 2 NBA championships decided in a row in that building. And I know the Lakers won the championship before that as well, just don't recall if they did that in the Forum or on the road. So this building is loaded with history, and it was just cool for me to actually finally be in the Forum and look around that iconic ceiling. I kept looking up at the ceiling. I'm like, the fucking ceiling. To me, it felt like being in Madison Square Garden, which is still a bucket list item for me. I need to do that. I need to experience the Garden, and I'm really glad I checked a big one off the list here, finally attending a show at the Kia Forum, and I don't think it's going to be my last. I think that AEW is going to make this a regular stop when they hit the West Coast, and that's really exciting. The only issue I really had with this venue is the lighting. Now, even back in the day, the NBA games at the Forum were always really, really dimly lit. Madison Square Garden does the same thing. They did it for wrestling, and they would always do it for sporting events. The Forum and the Garden were always really, really dark for whatever reason. But there was a full house at the Forum, even on the hard cam side where they would normally block everything off just so you can have all of the fans, facing the hard camera so it looks good for TV. This building was full all the way around. And there was a few, pockets of empty seats, but no more than you would see anyway at any sold out show. And it was full. So I think if they would have turned the lights up, it would have looked really, really good for TV, because even though my seats were awesome and the hard cam was looking at me the whole time, I was just out of view, or it was really hard to make me out for most of the show because of how dark it was. Now you can see me here. Here's a couple of screenshots from TV. This is where you can find me if you're watching the show back. We had a great little area there. We had our own private waitress at our seats that were actually draped in velvet. George Costanza would have loved it. I had no idea I paid for velvet seats. Same thing happened when we went to Double or Nothing. We had our own fucking lounge up there. It was the Bud Light Lounge. We had our own private bar, our own private bathroom. That's actually where Moxley and Santana and Ortiz and the whole Anarchy in the Arena match, that's where they made their entrances during that match. So I've always gotten really lucky, just gotten some really cool seats. Also saw Chris Masters walk right past us and went down the stairway there. I put a tweet out. Chris Masters is in the house, and I think he saw it and retweeted it. And we were also sitting next to everybody who wrestled on Dark. Everybody who got a match on Dark and Elevation came and sat right next to us, but I didn't want to be a dork and take a picture. Had a couple of great fan interactions as well. Got to see Jeff Meacham again from No DQ. I've seen Jeff a few times in LA for shows. I think this is the third time I've met up with him. I've also hung out with Aaron Rift a couple of times in LA as well. And also, one of my favorites, Rose Scythe from YouTube. This guy, his YouTube channel link is in the description below, and it's usually in the description to most of my videos because he does a lot of really awesome cover songs on his channel, and he's allowed me to use some of his music before for various countdown screens or whatever I'm doing. He's been gracious enough to let me use like the cover of SummerSlam or Survivor Series for when we do watch-alongs and things like that. And he's very, very talented. He was at the show as well, and look at this. He brings a Good Mic Work sign with him, which was made out of some sort of fabric. This isn't your typical wrestling sign. Obviously went through some trouble to get that done, and I thought it was so cool, and it was so awesome to meet you. And I found out that he lives in the same town as me, only about 20 minutes away. Got to meet your great girlfriend as well, and hopefully we'll get a chance to hang out a little bit at WrestleMania because you guys are going, and me and Elizabeth are going, and it's going to be a blast. So awesome to meet you, and thank you for just being the best. Anybody else that I missed a DM from or who I did not get a chance to meet here for Dynamite, my apologies. We didn't really spend a lot of time in the city for this. We just kind of came up, hit the show, and left. But if you are going to be in LA for WrestleMania, that will be a whole weekend thing, and there will definitely be time for hangouts, meetups, anything you guys want to do at WrestleMania. Keep me in mind. Shoot me a DM. Let me know if you're going, and we'll try to plan something. I'm really looking forward to that. So once we finally got to our seats, once we met everybody, shook hands with people, and hung out, we went down and plopped ourselves down in front of the ring and got ready for Dark tapings and, of course, Dynamite starting an hour after that. And we start with a match that could be built for pay-per-view. Hangman Page taking on Jon Moxley. Moxley opens the show, coming out to Wild Thing, and this crowd was jacked right from the word go. And I had tweeted out, I said, how does the crowd sound on TV? Because a lot of times if you're in the arena, it might sound great to you, but it doesn't translate that well to TV. But every single response I got was, holy shit, everybody is loud as hell. So the crowd not only was jacked in the arena, luckily that was translating to the audience at home, and I think that's awesome. So Mox and Hangman kicked things off. I love that they didn't waste any time, basically started brawling right when the bell rang, and this thing was a fight, and this was a really good match. And I am a little bit on the fence about the angle that they're doing at the end, but I'm really happy that Hangman got that clean win over Jon Moxley. I think Moxley's lost clean on TV like once or never, something like that. He's only lost 2 or 3 times in all of the last 12 or 16 months or something ridiculous like that. He has been unbelievably protected, and he has been a juggernaut. And I think aside from Roman Reigns, he's been the most dependable and the strongest, I think, star in wrestling in terms of, how they're utilized and pushed. Moxley has been the man, and he's had a great couple of years in the company, and I think this was a great statement win for Hangman Page. I wasn't sure. I know they've been teasing a little bit of a Mox heel turn because he's kind of been playing the heel in this angle because he gives 0 fucks. He even flipped all of us off at one point, I believe, during that match. So I thought that maybe Mox could turn heel and use a low blow, use a foreign object, do something shady to beat Hangman. That way Hangman stays protected and Mox turns heel. But they just went with a good old-fashioned clean victory for Hangman Page, which I love. The first match between these two did knock Hangman Page out legit with a concussion, and he was out all the way until this match. He has not been cleared all this time. He's finally back in the ring, and now he puts Moxley down. And after the match, Moxley's kind of squeezing his fingers and he doesn't seem to know where he is. Hangman even looks a little bit concerned as he's leaving the ring, from what I could tell. So it looks like they're kind of just having Hangman do to Mox what he did to him and turning the concussion real-life situation with Hangman into a storyline, and on the fence about that one. Not sure how I feel about it, not sure if it's a good idea, but we've seen concussion angles done before. Maybe it's a little insensitive to do an angle like that today, but this goes all the way back to Shawn and his post-concussion syndrome and passing out on Raw, and we've had a lot of concussion stories or angles used as tools to further storylines before, and it's really not anything that new. But I don't quite know how I feel about this yet. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if maybe this could have been a way to write Moxley off of TV if he's going to go take that break that he was supposed to take before Brawl Out. Maybe this is a way to get him off TV for a little while so he can take 3 weeks off. It's possible, so we will see how they come back with this here in the upcoming weeks. Next segment was my favorite segment of the night, I think, because Tony Schiavone had us fooled. They played this off perfectly, I think, making you think that he was going to introduce MJF because MJF was advertised to appear. We didn't know where he was going to appear. We just knew he was going to be on the show. So Tony Schiavone says, "It brings me no pleasure to introduce who I'm about to introduce right now," and then Adam Cole comes out. So the whole crowd shit their pants. Nobody was expecting Adam Cole. I'm thinking that they must have announced this on TV because Tony Schiavone, he almost like kayfabed it, how he felt about Adam Cole. He says, "It brings me no pleasure to introduce this man." I'm not understanding what they're doing. What they're doing is making you think it's going to be MJF, and they're surprising you with Adam Cole. But my head is somehow thinking that, well, Tony must know it's Adam Cole. Tony's friends with Britt. Maybe there's some natural dislike with Tony and Adam Cole. So when Cole came out, I was like, holy crap. So what that did, even though I had Tony's intent completely misunderstood, Tony, in my mind, was being kayfabe with his introduction of Adam Cole. So in my mind, Tony knows it's going to be Adam Cole, and he says something shitty about him. So to me, that kind of gave away that Adam Cole is going to Mark Henry us here, but I wasn't completely sure. Now looking back and seeing it on TV, seeing what they intended to do, I'm like, oh, I get it. They're making it seem like MJF is coming out to the ring, but instead it turns out to be Adam Cole, and it's a big surprise, and nobody knew it was happening. And let me tell you, as one of Adam Cole's biggest fans, it felt so good to hear this again. So Adam Cole gets a hero's welcome, huge babyface response for this guy. And he gets on the mic and proceeds to tell us that he has some good news and bad news. He says it's a good news and bad news situation, which immediately you're like, oh shit. So he starts with the good news, talks about how much appreciation he has from us, the fans, because he went through a lot of shit, having 2 head injuries, having a lot of headaches, a lot of trouble sleeping, a lot of sweats, waking up with a tear in his eye and telling Britt that he doesn't understand or know what's happening to him, a lot of uncertainty regarding his career career and his health, and these were troubling times for him. But what got him through it was all of the fans sending their well wishes, saying, we just want you to be okay. I know for a fact I said basically verbatim what he said in that ring, and easily at least one tweet that I directed at Adam Cole. And I says, I don't care if he wrestles again or if we see him again. The only thing that matters is that he's okay, he's healthy, and he's happy. And he reiterated that he got that message from so many people, and a lot of people had many of the same things to say regarding his future, his health, his safety, that it really overwhelmed him with a lot of love. And the bad news, unfortunately, is for everybody in the AEW locker room. And it's just like that warmth that came over me. I'm like, thank God. I knew it the whole time. I just kind of had a feeling that he's back. I don't think they would even bring him out in LA in this market just to kill our boner. Everybody is just riding high. The show has got this great energy. Moxley and Hangman Page just tore it down, setting an omen for what's going to be a great night of wrestling. To come out and kill that buzz with a heartbreaking announcement from Adam Cole just did not seem like something they were going to do in the forum on Wednesday. So I kind of had a feeling the whole time he was talking, he was going to hit us with some good news and good news. And that's exactly what he did. He said he's back, and it is his intent to become the best in the business. And I guess he's basically saying that he is going to be targeting the AEW world title. So this makes me extremely happy that he intends on targeting championship gold. I think at this point, AEW should make him a babyface, because I think the last time he was there was with Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Fish is gone. We don't know how long Kyle O'Reilly's going to be out. If they had planned on having an undisputed and elite feud, that obviously can't happen right now in everything's current form. So you should turn him babyface based on the reaction he gets. And let me tell you, it wasn't just LA. Adam Cole gets this reaction everywhere. And I think he should be a babyface, and they should just run with it. So AEW's got a big test here. They have brought back Adam Cole. Everybody's thrilled to see him. I really hope that Tony Khan has plans for him and has ideas for him, because one thing AEW has struggled with and been guilty of from time to time is not capitalizing on momentum, or inadvertently killing momentum. Sometimes it doesn't seem like they're doing it on purpose, but if they just thought it all the way through, they should really be running more with what they did. They made some mistakes with Wardlow and a few other people. So with Adam Cole, I would get him involved right away. Don't sit back and think for 3 weeks about what to do with him. I would have him on TV next week, confronting or starting an angle with a major star. Doesn't have to be a champion right out of the gate yet or something like that, but it definitely needs to be something major, and he needs to be a top priority in the company, because he's fucking money, baby. So welcome back, Adam Cole. So happy you're back. So happy. Best news I could have received as a wrestling fan. And I just hope that everything this time around goes well for Adam Cole. I hope he can stay healthy, stay in the ring, and not have any future or further head or concussion issues, because he is too precious and too valuable to wrestling to lose him like that. So very happy that Chugs is back. So great. So great. After that, we had Jungle Hook, or as I told my fiance Elizabeth, I think Hook and Jungle Boy's tag team name should be the Pussy Slayers. And her response was, yeah, for real. I love you, babe. They defeated Big Bill and Lee Moriarty. Now, this whole thing was kind of building to the suplex spot. They've been teasing this on TV with Hook trying to get Big Bill over in a suplex, and they built to it. Every time Big Bill has shut him down, finally, they got the spot off in this match, which got a huge ovation from the crowd here, as you can see. Very cool of Big Bill to really get up on that suplex for Hook and sell for him. Some fans don't think Big Bill should be selling for Hook. Greg doesn't give a shit. I think it's fun, and I like Hook, and he's over, and that's all that matters. After that was one of my favorite matches I've ever seen live in my life. Ever. Bryan Danielson and Konosuke Takeshita put on a clinic, but before they got to that, we had some extracurricular activities. So we have Takeshita coming out to the ring first and he's then interrupted by MJF. So here is MJF. We thought he was coming out with Tony Schiavone. He comes out here instead, and he goes on to, of course, make fun of Takeshita's name. He goes, "How do you say your name? Takeshita." He also says konnichiwa to him, and he also says, "Here, we speak American." So he did cut a promo that some fans might deem as racist, but we did read that it was cleared with Takeshita behind the scenes. So MJF is a heel that I expect to be as offensive as possible. And even though I think there are limits to what you should be able to do and say in promos, and I think there are lines you should not cross, I don't think MJF really crossed it here, and I didn't really have any problem with this, especially coming from my generation, somebody who has seen a lot of pretty horrifically offensive shit in wrestling, especially when I was a kid. Things are pretty clean and behaved now. So every now and then if somebody sticks a toe over the line, I'm not freaking out. He then goes on to, MJF that is, goes on to target a couple of celebrities that were at ringside. Now, Ken Jeong was in the house. I spotted him right away as soon as I got to my seat, saw him sitting down there. And MJF kind of makes reference to his Dr. Ken show, which got canceled, and made fun of him for that. And then he directs his attention to Freddie Prinze Jr., who's also in the crowd. Now, Freddie has done some movies. He actually filmed 2 movies in the town I used to live in Wilmington, North Carolina. They filmed a little bit of I Know What You Did Last Summer and another movie called Summer Catch, a baseball movie with Jessica Biel. I remember when they were there doing all this. And of course, Freddie was also a writer for a short time in WWE, and apparently he has aspirations to start his own wrestling company. Not sure what that's all about, but he might be working on that behind the scenes as well. So MJF makes fun of him and his shitty movies and said that he was second fiddle to a CGI dog, referencing the Scooby-Doo movies, more movies that I have never seen. And then I think he calls him a Scooby-Dooby douchebag or something like that, which was awesome. Good stuff. The only perhaps issue I think I took with this promo is that it was a little long, because this was all happening right before Takeshita and Danielson are supposed to wrestle, and Takeshita's just got to sit there and listen to all this bullshit. So finally, MJF keeps talking. Danielson interrupts him and comes out and chases and runs to the ring, and MJF runs away as fast as his little tiny itty bitty short legs can carry him. It was great stuff. So now MJF is gone, and we've got Danielson and Takeshita. And like I said, I'm a proud wrestling fan to be able to sit in the arena and watch that live. That was good stuff. An unbelievable match. Great pacing. Takeshita is only 27 years old. He lives stateside now. He's made the trip over here. We've heard rumblings of AEW having big plans for him. They want to push him. He has all of the potential in the world, and he's one of my favorite personalities in wrestling. He seems like just a delightful kid. He posts on Instagram and Twitter of him finding his way here in America, going to Trader Joe's for the first time and going to Costco and renting an apartment and getting a car, and seeing him do all of this is fucking adorable. And I think the dude is great, and he's a hell of a talent and potential and talent and ability through the roof, and I just hope the absolute best for this kid. So I was really excited to see this match when it was announced last week. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be there for that one. Holy shit. So this match was all kinds of fun. Little scary moment on the outside of the ring. Midway through the match, I think Danielson might have been going for like a head scissors on the apron, took him off the apron and onto the floor, but they landed really awkwardly and bumped hard into the railing. And from where I sat, it was one of those bumps where you could like feel the ground when they hit, and you knew it didn't go well and it wasn't supposed to go that way. So I was quite scared, but the two of them immediately got up, and Takeshita hit a brain buster, a gnarly brain buster on Danielson on the floor mere seconds after they already took that nasty spill that was not favorable to Danielson. So that was 2 in a row. Danielson got absolutely murdered on these 2 bumps, and it was incredible stuff. And he fought through it. I thought he might be legit injured on that, but he was back in the ring, back fighting pretty quickly there. Takeshita was fighting hard too. Dude fought through multiple submissions. He fought through the yes kicks and blocked him. He even had this sweet victory roll counter. I think Danielson was going into a victory roll, and Takeshita just stopped him in his tracks and almost hit him with kind of like what a package pile driver, or like a I don't know, inverted Deadeye would look like or something, and it was so brutal and so good. Finish was pretty good too. Danielson stomps the shit out of Takeshita and then locks him in the Regal stretch, and Aubrey pretty much calls for the bell. I think he was out before the submission was even applied, so Aubrey calls for the bell. Danielson wins via ref stoppage, and it was an amazing war. After the match, I'm not sure if this made TV or not. I think it did. Danielson goes over to Takeshita and helps him up. I even told Elizabeth after the match, I said, watch, when this is over, Danielson is going to show Takeshita respect, and that's exactly what we got. Reached his hand out, show respect, handshake, hug. Crowd loved it. Just warms my pro wrestling fan heart, you know what I mean? So good, so amazing, and it was an absolute honor and a privilege to watch that live. After that, we get the big tag team match, Saraya and Toni Storm taking on Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Of course, this had the cloud of Mercedes Moné hovering over it because a lot of fans were speculating that she could be in the building tonight. Now, I was not keyed in to social media, so I didn't know what the rumblings were, if she was spotted backstage or anything like that. But given the time of this match and where it was placed on the card, I think this match started like 15 minutes into the second hour. So if they were going to have Mercedes debut or show up, they definitely would have wanted to time this for the top of the hour so they could maximize ratings, people switching channels or whatever. That's usually where you want to have big segments like that. So based on the timing of it, I was not feeling it. I did not think we were going to see her. And again, I don't know why they announced a mystery partner. My theory on this, I could be completely wrong, but my theory on this is that way back last month when they first made this announcement, I think maybe Tony Khan was thinking, hey, I might be able to get Mercedes. Let's book a mystery partner. He might have booked it in advance thinking that he'd be able to talk to her and get her to come in. And then as it got closer and he realized that Mercedes wasn't going to be possible, they just went and announced Toni Storm. And I think everything they did last week would have been fine except for that one issue of Britt Baker dropping the "I'm the boss" line. And I think when she did that, knowing how much fans read into stuff, I said, you know what? I told you guys, if it's not going to be Mercedes, you should announce the partner ahead of time so you don't have a disappointed LA Forum. So they did that, but then they throw the monkey wrench in there with Britt Baker's boss line and Hikaru Shida kind of being dissed. It made you think that it's just a red herring and we're still going to see Mercedes anyway. But like I said, given the placement of this match on the card, from my seat, I didn't really think Mercedes was going to come out, and she did not. Instead, they did have Hikaru Shida run out there like we thought, and she threw the kendo stick in the ring. Now, apparently, the camera missed this, and it didn't get picked up on TV, but she threw the kendo stick in the ring, I think it was between Toni and Hayter. Britt Baker then picked it up and whacked Toni Storm with it, which allowed Hayter to hit her with her finish, I believe, and finish her off and get the pin. And Hayter and Britt, the killer and the pillar, got the win here, and Hikaru Shida stood there stunned that she screwed up. But I think they were trying to play it off like, who was she really throwing the kendo stick to? Because she threw it in the middle. She could have been throwing it to either woman, and based on how she got dissed last week in that sit-down interview, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that she would turn heel. So I think that's where they're leading with her. Hopefully they are. And we can get a new twist on Hikaru Shida, maybe a little more badass one, a little bit more aggressive Hikaru Shida. Would be a lot of fun to see if that winds up happening. We'll see. And like I said, this was my first time ever seeing Paige wrestle. I went on a long drought. I went on a 13-year pro wrestling show drought. I attended no shows between the years of 2005 and 2018. NXT War Games and Survivor Series 2018 was the first show I went to after that drought. So I missed all of Paige's career. So being able to see Saraya in person wrestle was kind of cool. Last year at Double or Nothing, I had never seen CM Punk wrestle live before. And the first time I watched him wrestle live, he wins the world title. That was pretty cool. So a lot of cool personal fan moments for me attending the show. And I'm just glad I was there to see it. So Saraya looked good. The match was fun. Even though we didn't see Mercedes, I still thought everything was fine. And the overall show was just flowing perfectly for me. After that, we had a not-so-great segment between the Jericho Appreciation Society and Ricky Starks and Action Andretti. Now, the JAS was very busy in LA. They appeared at PWG, which was really cool, and they referenced that. Ricky Starks making fun of Jake Hager's lisp. You know, you can kind of put it in the same category of the MJF thing. You can choose to get offended by this or not. MJF, I can tolerate it because he is supposed to be the most offensive heel possible. Ricky Starks, however, is a babyface, and I think some of the comments he made about Ty Mello as well also may not have been wonderful, maybe not the best Ricky Starks promo he's ever had. So that whole segment was just okay. I didn't pay much attention to it because I was getting ready for that crazy main event, and that main event was bonkers as hell. Very cool to be able to witness the Kansas Wayward Son entrance live. That was very cool to see the Elite come out to that. And of course, this was a ladder match, match number 7. You knew this thing was probably going to go to the distance, although Death Triangle went out to a 3-1 lead and the Elite had to battle back, but you knew the way pro wrestling is, you know, if the NBA could write all their games and script their games, they'd have game 7s in every damn series. So you knew this thing was going to go 7 and it was going to be fun, and having a different stipulation for each match, I think, helped keep things relatively fresh, even though we saw these two teams in the ring a lot, and some fans thought it was too much. Well, guess what? It's over now, and we got one hell of a way to cap it off in a match that was incredibly high-paced. I could barely keep up with it in my seat. As soon as the match started, they were off to the races with the bumps, the dives, the ladder bumps, the bridges on the ring, the tables, everything that was going on was just fast, hard hitting, and it was a million miles an hour, and I was sitting there with one of the best seats in the house, and I was loving it. A lot of fans have poked a little bit of fun at the hammer angle in this series, but I think this wrestling does make up for it with some questionable booking in there in terms of what these guys are doing in these matches. I mean, they have just been brutalizing each other, and it's been really fun, and I don't think it's been too repetitive or anything like that. And when you compare this to other best of 7 series throughout history in wrestling, where would you rank this one? I definitely put it up there in terms of the most exciting. The conclusion to this match did not disappoint. Sitting in my seat, I did not know what the rules were. I thought that you had to go up there and retrieve all 3 belts, but apparently just one member of the team needed to get up there and get 1 belt, and that team would be declared the winner. So finally, when all the dust settles, after V-triggers, after table spots, after Meltzer drivers, after ladder bumps, Kenny is able to climb up there and retrieve one of the belts and win the Trios Championship, essentially making the Elite 2-time Trios champions because they forfeited the belts right after they won them. Death Triangle did an excellent job carrying them for a couple of months, but their only challengers really were the Elite. I think they had a couple of matches at first to defend the titles, and they were successful, but the series with the Elite has been dominating everything they've been doing on TV for the past few weeks. So now we will see what the Death Triangle does, because with the Elite being the Trios champions, I don't know if you're really going to pass these things right back to the Death Triangle. It might be time to give them to a House of Black or somebody like that. So if Death Triangle is done with the belts, then maybe Pac moves on and starts doing something else, and the Luchas refocus on the tags. That would be very cool as well. I don't really know what you do with them, but all I know is the series was fun and I loved it as a wrestling fan. When the show went off the air, Kenny Omega signed us off, told us all to stick around for Rampage, and paid tribute to the Death Triangle, put them over for all their amazing work, which they all kind of acknowledged him from the ramp. That was very cool to see. And that was a wrap on what was an amazing Dynamite that sounded like it got great reviews from everybody at home, despite the fact there was no Mercedes Moné there. A lot of you guys loved the show, and glad to hear that, man. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, they also taped Rampage, which will be airing tonight. So I'm not going to spoil you on anything, but I will let you guys know about what you're going to see tonight, a little bit of what you're going to see. The first thing you're going to see is take 2 of Max Caster's rap. You want to see take 1? Here you go. Now, what made that moment so great in the audience for the fans was that Billy Gunn line. Him throwing that line in there really just eased the tension. It was a lot of fun, and Max Caster fucked up. It was a lot of fun. But tonight on Rampage, you will see what the actual rap is, and he does mention a lot of what you think he would mention. You're going to get a pretty fun segment that they set up on Dynamite with Paul Walter Hauser. He is Stingray. He played Stingray on Cobra Kai, and he also just won a Golden Globe for his work on Blackbird, which is a show that I've never seen. Now, I recently learned he's from Saginaw, which is where my dad is from originally, my biological father, Saginaw, Michigan, which is kind of cool. And I'm a massive Cobra Kai fan, and he was pretty good in Cobra Kai as Stingray. So he was on the Jericho Cruise with us a couple of years ago as well, and I think he's done a few spots in AEW. It's not his first appearance there, so you're going to see a segment with him in the ring and Danhausen, and then Jeff Jarrett and company would hit the ring as well. You're also going to see Ruby Soho and Willow Nightingale take on Tay Jay, Anna Jay, and Ty Mello in a no-holds-barred street fight bloodbath that was crazy. You're going to see Ruby and Willow wear Dudley Boy-themed gear, and Ruby got some Ruby. So you can just watch that tonight. Enjoy the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. That match, at least from where I sat, was pretty damn brutal. Hopefully it will translate well on TV because it looked like a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys will enjoy Rampage this evening. Thank you so much for sitting through this review. I meant for this to be a 15-minute review. That was the cap I put on this. I have no idea what I'm sitting at, but it definitely ain't 15 minutes. It's a lot longer than that. So thank you so much for watching this review of AEW Dynamite from the LA Forum. Thanks again to everybody I met at the show, and sorry to anybody that I missed at the show. And like I said, hit me up for WrestleMania because I will be there, and it's going to be a kick-ass effing time. I'm ready for it. You guys have a great rest of your night, and join us tomorrow for the podcast and Sunday for another classic pay-per-view watch-along. It's going to be a weekend. Y'all take care. Peace.